G'day, legends, and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jarrod, and joining me tonight are Shane, Liam, and John. How are you, John?
I'm good, Jarrod. I'm good. Just saying to you guys off the pod there, I've got family coming and visit next week, so I've got a whole week off. Very much looking forward to that. Hopefully some nice weather. I can actually be a bit of a tourist around Brisbane, which would be good. So yeah, lots of cleaning, as I was saying. A lot of my life is man standards. Bed sheets, that's not good enough. Need to clean the bathroom, that's not good enough. Things like that. Yeah. So lots of late nights.
Yeah, fair enough, Johnny. Lift the game, mate. Lift the game. It's all about those levels. We talk about levels for football now. It's in life as well. Get on with it. You'll be right, though.
Cleaning standards, cleaning levels. Yeah.
How long has it been since your family was out here?
10 years. 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. 2012, 2013, yeah.
Your old man's coming to Super Cup with us, isn't he?
Sure is. Yeah.
Yes,
I don't think he had an option in that. I told him he was coming, so yeah.
Happy
hotel
days.
book coming down.
Happy
Should be good.
days. Good to meet him. How are you, Shane?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Jarrod. Obviously had a public holiday here yesterday, so it was good to have a little bit of a break, a little bit of a wind down after a pretty busy week at work and chill out. And got in and did some weeding in the garden where weather was permitting. And I tell you what, I'm not a gardener, that's for sure. I've learned that.
You got to love that public holiday here. It's Melbourne. It's Melbourne Cup Day for those who don't know. So it's got to be the most Australian public holiday you've ever seen. We get a full day off, paid leave for a 3-minute horse race. How good is that? Can't go wrong. Sports mad in Melbourne. Got to love it. My favourite public holiday. And how are you?
I can top that because, tomorrow we have a national holiday and it's Culture Day. So, here we go. Japanese culture. Job done. Right.
There you go.
Yeah, I spent most of the day trying to work out a very difficult mathematical equation. How can a 10-year-old football club simultaneously be the world's most successful club and the worst team in Champions League history? Schrodinger's Hun, I'm going to call it, but see what you guys want to think about that one.
Well, we got a comment here, waiting ready to go here, Liam, from RL77. Who are the worst team in the history of the Champions League?
I believe that would be Sevco.
The answer to that question is the same team that, when they were in the Europa League final a few months back, were claiming that they were on the same level as the Lisbon Lions. That would be the exact answer. So, cop that, you dirty, dirty Sevco bastards. Happy days.
Welcome to the pod.
Yes.
And I'm back. So, I'll be completely honest with all the listeners. I've been off basically not really with it for the last few weeks because I had the passing of my mum. So, I'll just anyone who sent through messages or that, I appreciate it. Boys on the podcast, including Sean, who's not on here, you guys have been great support. So, heartfelt, really appreciate each and every one of you. But on to the football. That's what mum would want. Get on with the football. Yep. Let's not stew on it. So, I'll just start off with, since our last podcast, we had Celtic 1, Shakhtar Donetsk 1 in the Champions League. So I'll let you boys run with the games there. So I'll go the starting lineup for us. We had Joe Hart in goals, Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Taylor and Jens. That's a nice awkward back line. Gotta love the Celtic website. In the midfield, we had, they're saying Abada, Haksabanovic, and Hatate in the midfield with O'Reilly, Kyogo, and Giacomakis up front. Looks like a 4-4-2 by the looks of it. But, what was your overall take on the game, Shane?
Similar kind of story to the past couple of games that we've had in Europe, which is I thought we looked really good. We started really well early. I thought for the first 10 to 15 minutes we were fantastic. I thought our press was great. We really boxed them in. They really struggled to play through. And we created plenty of good chances. And similar kind of story, we just weren't clinical. And in the end, they had, I think, one moment of brilliance, which is what ended up tying off the game. similar kind of thing. I thought we played really well at the start of the game. I thought the back end of the game we looked really good, and when we pressed for that winner, just couldn't break through. Unfortunately, same tail of the tape.
And John, anything you want to add to that?
I completely agree. It was just one of those games. Again, it's like Shane was saying, it's the same old with our season in Europe this year, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I was saying to you guys in the chat, a lot of these boys are completely inexperienced in the Champions League. So those split-second decisions, they hesitate, and that costs us. And I'm thinking of like Kyogo and etc. They just take a second and hesitate, and you just don't get that opportunity in the Champions League. More experience with that, I think we bury games like that. I think there was a couple of opportunities where, look, we should have just scored and it would have completely changed the game. But at the same time, I did think it was pretty even. As Shane was saying, we had our opportunities. We controlled a lot of the game. I also think Donetsk controlled the game in portions as well. I do think if that boy, now correct me if I'm saying his name wrong, is it Mudryk? He doesn't play, we win the game. I think he's not just a Champions League player. He's gonna go on and be a decent player. And I'm not saying that because we were level. You can quite clearly see that he's got, that star quality about him. And to be perfectly honest, if we could afford him, I'd be saying that would be somebody we could buy quite quickly as well. But different day. Maybe we win it. Maybe we lose it. But I thought 1-1 was pretty fair. For where we're at in the Champions League. So it's all about building. New team, Ange's first season of Champions League. Yes. So yeah, look, it's a good platform, good foundation to move from. Nothing to be embarrassed about.
Before we jump to you, Liam, I'll touch on a couple of things you said there, John. So there's split-second hesitations. I've seen the highlights. That's pretty much it. And we got done on the counter-attack again from a couple of guys. There's a ball bouncing around and we hesitate rather than someone going and winning it and someone just holding their position. Two guys hesitate like, are you getting it or am I getting it? Bang, see you later. Stuff like that is what's hurt us in this Champions League. But at the same time, we're the pot 4 team. So even if we finish third and went into Europa League, that's a bonus for me. So like we get a free hit tonight in the Bernabéu, but I don't expect too much out of that. But if we get something, great. But yeah, just wanted to touch on those two in particular. Last thing though, you talk about Murdic or Murdrich, however you say it. If that guy was coming through the youth academy at Celtic, once he hits 16, doesn't sign professional terms with us, he moves on to Man City, he moves to Bayern Munich, he moves on to Liverpool like Ben Doak. That's what the problem we've got at the moment. There's no clear pathway. At least he can see a pathway. That's why he's stayed through the age he's at now. So that's an issue that's going to take a couple of years for us to fix, but hopefully it does. But I'll throw to you, Liam, for your thoughts on the game.
No, I mean, I can pretty much just echo what the guys have already said. I think it's a game that on another night we win. On a different night we get beat. I think it's just two pretty evenly matched teams, and I think that's an encouraging sign, because if you want to be a team that is consistently competing at Champions League level, then Shakhtar Donetsk are the quality of team that you're going to have to beat. So we got 2 points off of them this year. Could easily have been 6 with a wee bit of luck. That is definitely something to build on for next year. Because if we win those 2 games, we're in the Europa League. So that's and we would still have an outside chance of getting through tonight if we somehow beat Real Madrid, which I fully expect we will now that we're officially out, because that would be the Scottish thing to do, right? I'm telling you now, calling it here, we're going to beat Real Madrid tonight because it does not matter.
Hey, Liam, I'm going to take what you said and go on further. I've been calling a 10-0 result. Just saying it in case, for some reason, hell freezes over and it actually happens, then I can say I called it. But nah.
Well, the thing is, even if it's a 10-0 the other way, we still wouldn't be as bad as the 4th place team in Liverpool's group, would we?
Yeah, correct. because we picked up some points. But yeah, so yeah, speaking about that, the goals. Any particular players you want to focus on from that game, or do you just want to move on to the Livy game from the weekend?
Let's just move on. It's done.
Yeah, one of those. I think the only one that really screamed out. I think everyone played well, and everyone was talking about afterwards was Kyogo's miss and stuff. Saying that he's not as good as last season and etc. etc. I just think that's inexperience. To be perfectly honest, I think Kyogo, with more experience in Champions League, is going to be absolutely phenomenal. If he starts rattling goals like we know he does, and literally watched him do, he'll be dangerous. He'll be fantastic.
I think we had some positives on the night. I thought Greg Taylor, and he's going to come up, when we talk about our next game as well. I thought he was probably our best on the night. I thought he was exceptional. I thought Juranovic looked pretty fresh as well, bar a few sort of hiccups here and there. I know O'Reilly was flagged as the man of the match. He seemed to get a little bit of stick online. I didn't necessarily think he was in our best 2 or 3, but I didn't think he played particularly poorly either. So I thought some of the criticism he received was a bit unfair. From what I could gather, Kyogo was sort of playing in behind Giakoumakis, and Giakoumakis I thought was just a constant threat and really caused them trouble throughout the whole 90. I thought he was fantastic as well. Not really a fan of Kyogo sort of just being deployed behind Giakoumakis. It was interesting. I was a bit surprised by it. It's probably something I didn't see coming. I don't think it worked too well. I'm not sure if we'll see it again, but wasn't really a fan.
Fair enough. I've always thought that Kyogo and Giakoumakis together as a pair would work in a similar way that Viduka and Kuhl used to work together from an Australian perspective. So I actually think, give it a bit of time, it could be an option. But yeah, I don't really see Ange sticking with that sort of formation too much longer.
Yep.
Plus, we don't have the strikers. Let's be honest. What have we got for strikers? We've got 2 fit strikers, 2 strikers, and Maeda is the third option. Yeah,
Avada, maybe.
Abada or Forrest or Haksabanovic through the middle. There's your options. So yeah, I don't know if it's worth the risk of playing both those guys together, but anyway. But we'll crack on to a win at the Tony Macaroni. Hey, 2 in a row there now. Happy days. So 3-0 win. We had goals to Kyogo, Taylor, and Jota. What a shocking pitch. Like, absolutely disgusting. I was looking at the replays just before coming on here, and I'm like, that looks disgusting. Like, you could go down to the local indoor cricket centre and you get a better pitch than that. Atrocious.
I actually said that during the game. I mentioned it to my dad. I used to play 7-a-side at Broadwood AstroTurf pitches, which is like next to the Clyde's Stadium, and for people who know Cumbernauld in Scotland. But that at the time, this was like 1997, 98. That was a 3G pitch, and I think that pitch looked better then than the Livy pitch looked last weekend. Honestly, absolutely shocking.
So, what was your take on the game, John?
I thought it was a masterclass of what Celtic can actually do away. I thought we dominated from the first second. It was non-stop domination. They were never getting anything out of that game. They tried very hard. Thought Livy's manager's comments afterwards just screamed levels. I guess that's the buzzword of the day. Between them on the other side and us. They tried to do the same that they did against Sevco, and they just couldn't do it. They couldn't keep up. Everybody was on fire. Look, Greg Taylor's goal was just fucking what a rocket! A phenomenal goal. Did anybody ever see that type of goal coming from somebody like Greg Taylor? No, nobody did.
It was bloody howitzer of a shot.
Jesus Christ, it was fantastic. It was just one of those ones again. And if we remember, I don't know if dear listeners remember what Sean said last week, but when he said Livy haven't been beaten by 2 goals or more, did he say, at home this season? And there you go. I mean, even the stats like that scream out how much we dominated Livingston. And that's really what we want to see. It was very, very controlled, very quick passing. Which I don't want to say it was because it was a plastic pitch and it was pissing down with rain. I think that probably contributed to it. I think also our mentality was the biggest factor there. But it was much quicker passing. It was almost like 2 touches, 1 touch and a pass, 1 touch and a pass, and it just pinged about. We broke down their bus pretty quick, and and very good goals. Greg Taylor definitely man of the match.
The early goal helped with breaking them down because then they had to come out. They couldn't sit that deep if already 1 down. And they've been talking about Ange ball and the mantra of like one-touch football, and it was good to see that come back into it over the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and just before we continue, good to see Jota back. Good goal from Jota. Good to see him. Playing well. Back to, I think we've got another option altogether then.
And he made some old dear's day with the celebration as well.
Yeah.
What a sweetheart.
He certainly did. And have you not? I don't know if you noticed. This is just a very past remarkable thing, but Celtic players aren't running up and jumping into crowds anymore. Like you can clearly tell that they want to when the crowd's so close to the byline and stuff, but they're sick of getting booked, I reckon. So they're just doing that little. I think Taylor did it a couple of times where you could see him wanting to jump into the crowd and then running along instead. Yeah, just let them do it for God's sake.
After Welsh got pushed over by someone in the crowd, I think that may have had something to do with it.
Somebody said something to them and like, right, no more jumping into the crowd.
Yeah, the old wind your neck in. So Shane, what was your take on the game? Anything you want to add?
No, I pretty much endorse what John said, and as well as yourself, Jarrod. I think what was crucial was getting that early goal. I think the longer the game went, the more that it was 0-0, the tougher it would have been, the more pressure that would have come. Getting that early goal, not only was it good for Kyogo himself to actually get on and score, but just as a team, it meant that they couldn't sit as deep as they wanted. They had to have something a little bit more proactive if they wanted to get something from the game. They couldn't really, and they didn't really come out that much even after going 1-0 down. Look, I just really echo John's statements. I think we played really well. I thought we looked pretty threatening. I thought we were able to actually create chances. If you compare this with this time last season when we went there, chalk and cheese in terms of the way we played and the performance and how we looked. And you can quite clearly see that kind of let's ping it around quickly, let's move it quickly, let's not let them set up. There was a much better emphasis about trying to really break them down, I thought, instead of waiting for something to happen. It was much more proactive. Let's make something happen. Let's really catch them out. And it was a really good performance. You know exactly what you're going to get when you go there. You're going to get a team that just sits back and parks the bus and tries to jag a result from you. And I thought everyone played pretty well. Greg Taylor in particular.
I have a couple of little things I want to add on to this, not really massively related. All the talk pre-game was who's going to start up front. Is it a Giakoumakis start or is it a Kyogo start? And everyone, let's be honest, show of hands, who would have started not knowing the result? Who would have said, yeah, this is a Giakoumakis sort of game?
Yeah,
definitely
for
I
sure.
would have.
100%. Yeah.
So the fact
I would have said Kyogo simply for as I mentioned last week about the playing on artificial surfaces. Japanese players are more accustomed to it, but yeah.
I knew that was going to be a 3-1 like that there, Liam. Don't worry, I knew you were going to say that. But that's the general that I saw pretty much across or if you looked at Twitter or whatever, all the talk pre-game was, Giakoumakis has got to start. So for Kyogo to start and then get that goal, great. It's good to see. So I was happy for him on that front. Second thing I want to touch on is it's good to see the show racism, the red card things back on the kits again. It's always a good, I think that's one of those things that needs to be clamped down, particularly at a certain club that's based out of Ibrox in particular. Now, whoever put those on the top, say, might want to have a good hard look at themselves, because I don't think the sponsors would be too happy getting their logo covered up by it. But anyway, different story. And the
Well-
third one I'm going to use as to tie us into the next topic we want to discuss. But I'll let you jump in with what you wanted to, Liam, before I come back to that, because it's like
All right. I was just going to add on the show races and red card things. It would be nice if they also had red cards that would stay on the shirts for more than about 5 minutes. That was like a 99 pence shop stick-on
was.
job, wasn't it? It was embarrassing.
Iron on
Flapping.
yourself.
Flapping. Yeah.
you can get those poppies to stay on those black armbands or whatever for longer than they can get a show races and the red card thing. Figure that out.
Aye, well.
Anyway,
Do you know,
yeah.
before we move on as well, one of the things we haven't discussed is first time VAR decision goes Celtic's way. And we missed the bloody penalty. Are you kidding me? I think that
I
first
just
time
hope
in
that-
16 games, 17 games, I think it is, that Celtic have had given a penalty. First VAR decision to go Celtic's way. Jesus Christ. And I mean, look, he looked guided, but it was a shocking miss.
Yeah.
This is the one.
John,
Well,
we've
looking-
got to come back at it though. Giakoumakis missed the penalty at the same time last year at the same venue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
I hope Mrs.
And also-
Giakoumakis is ready for another kid, because that's what's going to happen, isn't it?
And also, there was when we played Clyde on the plastic as well. It didn't seem too comfy there. So maybe he's one of those guys like a Chris Julian. He doesn't really like playing on the plastic.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think anybody does really. But yeah.
The
Just had-
Japanese
just had
boys,
to
they're
mention
just
it.
us Liam.
Yeah, although saying that, I was going to add that one player that I noticed was having particular trouble with the surface, which kind of takes apart my narrative, with Rio Hatate. It was overhitting and underhitting a lot of passes. And I think that was just because he was having difficulty judging the very uneven surface. It's one thing to play on an artificial surface if it's something like the Saitama Arena, but it's another thing to play on, the Tony Macaroni, which is like a bloody second-hand bowling green. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Totally agree.
All right. Last thing I wanted to say. Pre-game, us wearing those Pride warm-up tops. I'm throwing a kit thing in there. Liam, have you ordered that top yet?
No, for the simple reason that I'm going to pick one up when I go back to Scotland next month, because
Also?
it will save me about the same price again in shipping. So
Yeah, fair.
yes.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason I'm saying is I know you'll buy anything ridiculous or loud or colours or
Oh
whatever.
God, yeah. I'm all over that. Yeah,
And
no
for me,
question.
Normally I'd be the same, but I'm looking at that and I go, I get it. The reason behind it makes sense, but you couldn't pay me enough to wear that top. I'm too proud of myself to actually be seen wearing that.
So ironically, it's your pride that is stopping you from wearing a pride top, right?
Exactly. There it is. There we go. You got it. But the reason I brought that one up is because there's rumors of us having a fourth kit coming out. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen now. And I sent this to the group chat earlier today. And for me, I would love this to be our second top next season, our away kit, rather than a fourth top. Why do we need a fourth top? Makes no sense. So, yellow, the green and white trim. Absolutely, that's one sexy looking top.
I just really love the whoa that I heard in the background there.
Suit you, sir.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's something that you pin to your ceiling in your bedroom, innit? Good God.
So we'll go, John. Let's let you finish off this tangent. What's your thoughts on that? First of all, do we need a fourth top?
Revolting. Do we need a fourth top? Probably not. Let's be honest. No, not at all. And I think that's see if it is a fourth top. I don't know if we have any clashing issues with the three. I don't think we would have. But
we have a clash issue with the third top because we've already had that at St Mirren.
Yeah.
Because the idiots who designed that went grey with black shorts, and then we can't wear our green and white because, apparently there's too much white clashing with St Mirren's uniform. We can't wear a black away because there's too much black clashing with it, so we wear a grey. The only way I could tell them apart was when we were playing. St Mirren had red numbers. That was it.
Yeah. Look, and look, maybe that's all the justification we need for we're needing a fourth one. And if it isn't something like that, it could just be Adidas being very clever, which is maybe the grey kit's not getting great numbers. They're just fixing an issue. I think that's a little bit greedy. You could have waited till next season. But look, who really cares? I've said this. I actually said this in previous pods. I've said this to you guys. I'm done with Celtic TV, fully and completely done with it. I think it's absolutely fucking shocking, and I never get the service I'm paying for. So but the reason I knew that coming back to Australia, and the reason why I kept paying for it for the past 2.5 years was I wanted to support my club in another way. Having been a season ticket holder for so long, I wanted to support it in a different way. I'm just going to start buying all the jerseys, and that's going to be my way of supporting Celtic. So if they bring a fourth one out, I'll buy it. That it would be as simple as that, and I'll be one of those mugs. I don't really care. So no, we don't need it, but goddamn, is that a good fourth one?
So on that, the fourth thing, apparently Adidas are doing this with a bunch of clubs. Like Bayern Munich's got another one coming out. There's a few other clubs that got the same deal. So it looks like Adidas is doing that for the Christmas market. Now, Edward Y of Oz has put this comment: fourth top could be a blue Japanese top. Slight issue. You put the word blue there. That's not going to happen. No. Now, the green one that you also call green and gold, the Australian connection, makes perfect sense. So we could go for that. But you can't have a blue top. And
never happening.
What I would rather we do is what we've done in previous seasons, where if we need a fourth top, we just use one of last year's tops that doesn't clash. So we could bring back the green one that we wore with the gold trim that we wore in the cup final from last year. Or we could bring back the all white one with the pink and green pinstripe from last year. So we've got options. So why do we need to bring out a completely other one? If this was next year's away top, happy days, but I'll still buy it.
Yeah.
Shane, you're rocking the last yellow shirt that we had. What's your take?
I thought I'd pop this on tonight. Very topical.
Wonderful.
Cool. Just got that. Yeah. Slow day.
Yep. It was very dangerous going to John there, considering how excited he was about the top. I was just a bit worried about what's going to happen there. So, look, I pretty much echo the same sentiments. It looks fantastic. I'd definitely like to get one, but we don't need a fourth top. Just hold it over until next season. Have it as the away top. There's just no reason for the fourth kit this season. We've got 3. That's enough. Yep, I think it's been summed up perfectly.
I want to jump in before Liam goes all communist here on the whole top side of it, because I know how he is. Now, Sean's put in the comments that Sevco have 4 already. Yep, understand that. For me, where I said Adidas are bringing out a bunch of other tops pre-Christmas, there's a massive cost of living issues around the world at the moment with gas prices, power prices, and so on, right? The last thing you need when energy prices and everything are the way they are in Scotland at the moment is to be bringing out another top that, if you're a family with 2 kids and both your kids want one of these tops for Christmas, what's that going to be? Another 100, 120 quid at least that you've got to find on top of power bills and heating and that going into Christmas when everything's going real high. I'm beating Liam to the whole communist thing here where that's not needed. There's, on the social side of it, I don't think we need a fourth top. There's people who can spend their money in a better way. However, next year, as I said, if that's our away top, have at it, Adidas. Go for it. But over to you, Liam.
Yeah, you just stole most of my Soviet thunder there, so I'm not going to try and do too much here. But no, the thing is, it's a nice top, right? And I think, like you all say, away top next year, all over it, love it. I would pre-order it right now, right? As it stands, if this top does indeed get released, I will be, let's say, acquiring it through sources closer to Japan, shall we say, but not within Japan.
We should put a star.
Yeah, you know, that official Adidas outlet that works out of Guangdong province in China. Yeah. Anyway, the thing is that I'm going to flash back to the Neil Lennon era here and use a phrase we used a few times back then. Celtic, read the room, right? Fans are skint just now. Season tickets cost too much. TV subscriptions cost too much. Heating and basic food costs too much. The last thing they need is another 65 quid for a football shirt that the team might wear once or twice at most between now and the end of the season. The Huns did it and they got away with it, which is probably why Celtic have decided they can do it. Because when it comes to commercial exploitation, our fans are as gullible as their fans are when it comes to this kind of stuff, unfortunately. That's a sad reality. That's a football fan thing generally, whatever team you support. We are in an abusive relationship with our clubs because we allow them to do this to us. You know, it used to be 2 tops with 1 new top every year. So you'd have the away top would change 1 year, the home top would change the next year. So whenever you bought a new Celtic top, you had at least a 2-year window where that was the current top. Now it's 3 tops every season and 3 goalkeeper variants to go with that. So if you're like me and you buy pretty much every top that comes out, that is 6 different tops you're buying a year before you even factor in any training kit like the Pride shirt, which I'm going to pick up when I get back. And then there's also all the sort of fashion wear that goes on top of it. Cut a long story short, the other thing is Celtic have already got a shirt on their site, which you can see right now, because I got my dad this for his birthday back in September. There is an 80s retro Celtic shirt that is that same yellow, the same shadow print. It just has the centenary season Celtic Cross badge. That's the only difference. And, you know, that is going on the Celtic shop site now for, I think, 35 quid. So when you're already selling that product, which looks all the same, bar the sponsor and the Adidas logo, it's even got the same collar. I think to then ask fans to pay 65 quid for, 1, it's a 4th top, which we don't need, and 2, it's a clone of a top that was already available in the shop anyway for a cheaper price. So bad marketing all round if Celtic go ahead and do this.
I'll bring up a comment from Sean here in the comments. He's like, to be fair, we all celebrate when revenue increases announced end of year.
Not particularly, but that's more down to my political views. But there you go.
Anyway, we'll leave the kit stuff there. But yeah, I'll read the room. I think it's a good summary. I like that top bit for next season. So we'll jog on from there. Now, we've got a couple of things which are headed more your way, Liam. So what we'll do is we'll keep them for a second. I just want to jump ahead one of the topics. So how do you boys all feel about Celtic and Sevco joining a new relaunched European Super League? Because that's one of the rumours kicking around at the moment. They're not going to have the English teams. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, those 3 are the main ones who are still in it. Then they want Celtic and Rangers, they want Ajax and a couple of the Dutch clubs and go from there. What do you think? John, I'll keep you till last, Liam, because I just want to see how red your face gets before you unleash.
What do I think? I think I'm a fucking hypocrite because it sounds good. It sounds pretty good to me. I don't know. Like, I'm so conflicted by the entire thing. I think it will do really well from the extra money. And I think everything they're saying we are is true. We're a massive club in a small league. We'll instantly have all of that history and appeal and international market will all instantly be there. I think as we were talking, it would so massively depend on the structure of it. I don't want an American football system where you just are in the league and you get stuck in the league, and whether you're the bottom of the table or not, that's you can't, like, there has to be some repercussions for losing the league and some benefit for winning it. Otherwise, what's the point in even having it in the first place? If it's going to, block us out of playing in the Champions League, not super keen on that. I'm really not super keen on that because we've got history there. And I think the whole point for me is, and I've said this before, and it's very much my opinion, it goes domestic league success into European success. So if we want to go into a domestic European Super League, that has to then result in us doing something in Europe. So if we come second, third, fourth, fifth, it's, or win it, whatever. It's Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. I still like that system. So I don't know. I am a hypocrite because it sounds absolutely class. Everybody said the same thing before. How atrocious the Super League was when it was the original teams. But yeah, look, just real strong cognitive dissonance on this. I can't really say how I feel about it, to be fair.
I'll jump in with my take then, see if I can see what you reckon. For me, I'm not a fan of it. The only positives I can see of this happening is, okay, there's the finance stuff, which is great. We all understand the situation when we're in a small league with a bad TV deal. All the money in the UK goes to the leagues down the road. So I get that. However, the positives would be, so we get the extra finances. A positive would be away from the dodgy, trying to figure out the best way to say it, the shifty people who, overlords who run Scottish football, at both the administration thing of the SFA and the SPFL, and would also be away from, the referee, the Lanarkshire Referees Association, and that dodgy stuff. So that's a positive. Extra money to come from it and getting away from that. But on the negative side, what happens if you come last? Do you get relegated back into your league, and how do you get back up into there again? What happens if are you still playing in your Scottish league? So still have to have a relationship with those guys to play in the Scottish Cup and the Scottish League Cup? Is that still a requirement? How would it all work? That's what my questions are. There's a lot of things that need to be discussed. The whole idea where they rejigged the Europa League, the Champions League, and then bringing in the Conference League, that was all done off the back of this Super League to let more teams play in Europe. So I'm more of a traditionalist with our club's history in Lisbon and everything and the way it is. I'd rather stay where we are. But there is a few questions to be answered before we can make any full idea on it. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of it. Shane,
can I just add something on the back of that? And I'll be very quick, Shane. I think once upon a time when we talked about a European Super League, it wasn't with the giants of football, right? It wasn't with the Juventuses and the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids. It was talking about Celtic, Rangers, Ajax, Feyenoord, Copenhagen, maybe Galatasaray, Besiktas, like these big clubs with history, but in small leagues joining together and rivaling the traditional leagues, your Italian league, French league, English league, Spanish league, right? You rivaled those, and then the next one would have been the European Super League. I think the issue I have is that you're having these giant teams being really, really greedy, and that we would then be greedy by association. And I think that's what really rubs the wrong way. But like I've said before, it's hard for me to decide.
If it was the old Atlantic League, like they were talking on, like taking your Rosenborgs and your Malmos and your teams out of Scandinavia, taking your top 3 or 4 from Belgium, your top 3 or 4 from Holland.
Yeah.
You put us in there. You get some Irish teams in there or whatever, and you get a team like 18 or 20 teams and have a proper league, and the bottom 4 get relegated back into their leagues, and whichever league they get relegated back into the winner of that comes back up into it.
Yep.
Then that could work. But I don't see it with us being in with like the Juventuses and the Real Madrids and that. Realistically, how are we going to compete? We'll be cannon fodder for them. And Sean in the comments has said, let the big boys jump ship on the SS Circle Jerk to play in Singapore. We'll stay behind and play for the local fans. So over to you, Shane. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I'm not a fan. I don't like it. I'm like yourself. I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I like it. It's not perfect right now, but I like being able to get into like something like the Champions League or Europa League, and then you go through the process of, you know, getting drawn into groups, and you get a mixture of teams. You get a big team, you get a couple medium-sized teams, and then, you know, depending on where you are, you might get a lower team. I don't like the idea of just being plucked out and potentially being in just this one Super League that you're just continuously in. I think the comments about us potentially being, you know, cannon fodder are fair. I know we all like to think we can compete with the big boys, but, you know, we've also got to be realistic, and I think that'd be difficult with those teams. I guess for me, where I'm looking at it is you've got a Super League where every game's a big game. You're playing a big team every time, and we all know and get excited when we draw the big teams, like we're at the Bernabéu, you know, tomorrow and so forth. But what's good about the current model is that you get a mixture of different teams. You don't just get drawn into a group with all these big teams that you're playing every week and you get these blockbusters. You get teams like Donetsk, and you get, you know, teams like Copenhagen when we get drawn into groups, and you get a balance. And then if you progress and you start playing bigger teams, it's because you've gotten through your group and you're out, and now you're playing another big team because you've actually progressed further. And I just think if you've got a league where everyone's a big team, everyone's a really top class team, I don't know. I just don't like that idea. I think it detracts too much from what we currently have.
Plus, Shane, you got to look at it. We've got a league over here, top flight in Australia, with no relegation. And how much of a shambles is that?
Yeah, it's not great. Like we need to we need to do it here. I won't get too much into the A-League, but it is frustrating when you can go through a season and play poorly and there are no ramifications. You don't have to really right the ship and say, no, we've got to make drastic changes. We've got to get results. There's literally no pressure to do so. You know, it's not what you want to be part of.
And Liam, here we go.
Right. I mean, it would really depend. I don't know much about this. I haven't read much about it, I'll be honest. But a couple of things. The revenue model would need to be in such a way that all of the teams are given an equal distribution of the money, regardless of where they place. That'd be my opinion. Because there needs to be a leveling out of because the biggest problem for these big teams is the lack of a level playing field in their own countries, right? Barcelona, Real Madrid, 9 times out of 10 win the league in their own country. Celtic and Sevco always win the Scottish League, right? It's a similar thing in Holland, where I think there's you've only really got PSV, Ajax, and Feyenoord who could actually win that championship. You know, places like Norway, whatever, it's maybe not quite as clear-cut a deal because Rosenborg aren't quite what they once were. You know, in Denmark, you've got about 3 or 4 teams that can win that league. Belgium's the same. But there needs to be a clear way that it's going to benefit not just Celtic and Rangers, but Scottish football as a whole. We need to think of, and it's very easy to say, well, you know, we're Celtic fans, we only care about Celtic, whatever, fine, right? But if you're going to come and present this to the Scottish football authorities in such a way that they're going to let it happen, because at the end of the day, it won't happen unless they let it happen. You have to think, well, how can we present this in a positive light to a St Mirren fan, or a Ross County fan, or a Livingston fan? Because it needs to be, it needs to be a benefit to everybody, and that goes for the smaller teams in other countries as well. So I'm going to hold judgment on it. I'm not going to blow it out the water completely because I'll hear them out. But I'm very pessimistic. And I do think that in principle, if we enter that league, we should forfeit our right to an automatic Champions League place. That should go to whoever wins the Scottish League in our absence. That's only fair.
There's a comment for you, Liam. From Sean. Equal distribution. Right on, comrade Liam.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh.
Yeah, you set yourself up for it. Had to be done.
Christ. Yep. All right. Bang. He got it, mate. Well done. Yes. Yep. Oh, dear.
Yeah, I think it's a watch your space sort of thing at the end of the day in summary. But yeah, the majority of us are all traditionalists and would rather stay in the Scottish League and go from there. So, all right, Liam, we gotta get through some stuff because
Right, let's go. Right.
We've got the news from Japan. The national squad was announced for the World Cup. Only Maeda made the squad.
Yeah.
All sorts of discourse going on Twitter and discussions on Facebook groups saying, why isn't Hatate in? Why isn't Kyogo in? Japan must have some crazy squad depth if they're not selecting them. I commented on your mate Dan Olowitz's post that he put up about it yesterday, where he's saying Sako out, Haraguchi out, Furuhashi out, Hatate out. Wow. So I'm like, pretty odd, isn't it? Hope Moriyasu knows what he's doing. The response from him was, we shall see, won't we? What's your take on it? Because there's quite a bit of interesting conversation going on.
Well, this is the thing. It's not, Kyogo is not the only major casualty of this. Hatate was at best a 50-50 chance anyway because he'd only played a couple of times for the team. And as much as I think he's a better player than the likes of Shibasaki, who will probably play in his position in the World Cup squad, I think that the principle of the players that get you to the World Cup should be the ones that play at the World Cup. So I can understand Hatate not making the squad on that basis. Kyogo, the thing is with Kyogo, there is still a chance he might get in because there is a boy called Asano who is also a winger, which is where Kyogo usually plays when he does play for Japan. But he got medial ligament damage in September and hasn't played since. So he's been named in the squad, and his parent club, Bochum, in the Bundesliga, have said that they expect him to be fit by the time World Cup comes around. But it's we're talking 3 weeks away, and the boy hasn't played a game since September. So I don't see how that's going to happen. And if he goes out, Kyogo is the natural choice to step in there. So Kyogo may well end up going to the World Cup anyway. It's not nice to do it at the expense of another player, but I think that is a distinct possibility if Asano doesn't defy the odds and somehow get himself fit. Because it's one thing being fit to play, it's another thing being match fit. And if you've not played a game since September for your club, I would question the merits of any player going to a World Cup under those circumstances.
You run the risk of being underdone, don't you?
Absolutely. Now, Maeda's there on merit. He's been a consistent part of the Japan squad the last couple of years. Top goal scorer in the J-League last season. Plays in a much more direct role for Japan, which much better suits his style of play. He does what he's asked to do at Celtic and does it well, I think, despite the criticism that he gets. But I hope that after seeing Japan play at the World Cup, even if they don't, get out the group, which will be difficult, I hope that a lot of Celtic fans will reevaluate Maeda when they see what he can do when he plays in a team that is built to his strengths rather than a team where he has to fit into the team's strengths.
The funny thing with the Japan squad, and I'm going to say it compared to the Celtic, is Kyogo plays central as a striker. Maeda plays out of position on a wing. You get him in the Japanese squad, they reverse that. So they play Maeda more as a striker, which suits him better, and play more on the counter-attack, and put Kyogo on the wing, which doesn't really suit his style.
Yeah.
So it's just funny the way that Ange manages it one way, Moriyasu does it the other way, and it doesn't surprise me Hatate didn't make the squad. I didn't expect him to be in there.
Yeah.
I thought Kyogo would be in, and he's only picked 3 actual strikers. So if Asano's out, yeah, Kyogo will be first man in, you'd think. So wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't come to Sydney and he actually does go to Qatar. But yeah, to watch his space.
Fingers crossed.
Now, unless Shane or John got anything you want to ask Liam about that, we can crack on to the next topic.
Nah, crack into next.
Oh, scoops over here. We beat the mainstream media again, Liam, with some more news out of Vissel Kobe this time again. Last time you did that, it was with the Kyogo signing. This time we've done it with the rumoured January signing of Yuki Kobayashi, left-sided centre-back, 22 years old, 6'1". So he ticks a lot of the boxes that we need. And when you go through, all the stat heads go through everything, he's probably the best or second best ball-playing centre-back in the J-League. Will suit Ange's system based on ticking all the boxes. What's your thought on that signing, Liam?
Yeah, excellent signing if it comes through. He is one of Japan's best young up-and-coming defenders. If this World Cup would have been 6 months or a year later, he'd probably be in the squad. I think he's that good. And the move to Europe is only going to increase his stock because the World Cup squad, 20 of the 26 players play outside Japan, which I think kind of says it all. So he will go on to become a star for Japan once he completes the move to Celtic. Hopefully it goes through because I think it's a good move for him. It's a good move for Celtic, and it's also good for the profile of Celtic and Scottish football over here, which hopefully means I can get more games on the telly.
So apparently the reports on the Kobayashi signing is the fees agreed between the two clubs. The player, when I first heard about it, hadn't agreed terms, but apparently in the last 24 hours, his terms have been agreed. He just has to pass the medical.
Yeah.
So during the international break, when the World Cup's on, that's when his medical is apparently supposed to be scheduled. And he's going to be flying down here to Sydney to do it with our guys down here instead of flying over to Scotland to do it.
Do you think he could get announced at the Super Cup?
Imagine that. Won't be able to play till January, but if the season's over in Japan,
the J-League season finishes this weekend, so that's very possible.
But is the cup on in December still, or they played the cup?
No, I think they played the cup already. Yeah, because I think I remember reading something about Kawasaki winning
everything forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Aye. So after this weekend, he is essentially not a free agent. He's still under contract with Kobe, but he's free to go and sign for another club. So Celtic could formalise the deal next week, and he would start playing for us in January. But he could certainly fly down to Sydney and time it with us being there, and he could get paraded before the game. That would be a great wee bit of PR for Celtic.
And then going to stay with the club from that point onwards and just get training, so he gets a good 6 weeks to bed in with the team and know how things are going to be, so he hits the ground running 1st of January.
Exactly. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Timing works really well there. So let's see how that goes. But question for you, though. You had Kobayashi or you had the choice with Itakura. Who would you pick?
Kobayashi.
Who would suit Ange's system better is what I mean, sorry.
Yeah, Kobayashi.
That's what I thought as well, yeah, from what I've seen.
Itakura's a great player, but he's that wee bit older and he's picked up some bad habits. Anything that Kobayashi, any faults he has in his game can still be trained out. Itakura is now, I think, as good as he's going to get, which is still pretty good, but I think Kobayashi has the potential to be better.
I look at this signing and go, okay, left-sided centre-back, it's what we need. Bring him in because, let's be honest, you've got Starfelt who's back. The only guy who's out injured now, not training, is Kalmak. Starfelt, you've got him to come back in. I want us to make Jens's deal permanent. I think he's done enough to make that happen. Realistically, if Carter Vickers has a good World Cup, he could potentially be moving on in January. Let's be honest. So if we've got Kobayashi coming in and we can make Jens permanent, we can play Starfelt in his natural right-sided at centre-back, this makes sense. This is good forward planning by Ange and the squad. If Carter Vickers doesn't get his move, it's still good planning because I think we've been one man short at centre back all season anyway. Because Welsh isn't the answer.
No, we need 2 right-sided and 2 left-sided centre backs, and that we would have that if we had Kobayashi come in.
Yep. Okay, let's hope that happens then. Now, last couple of things we've got to do. Celtic Real Madrid tonight. Now, according to the press and people in Spain, Real Madrid, they're not going to be much of a crowd because it's an early one. People will still be at work. Second thing is that they've dropped points in the league on the weekend. They've got 3 games they want to get through before the World Cup break. So their priority is on the league. So there's a chance. What they're talking about is there's going to be a bit of squad manipulation or rotation. So I don't expect to see them at their full strength there. Do you think we're a chance at picking up a point or even getting a win? Liam, you said earlier that we're going to win it, so I'll start with you.
Yep, we're going to win 3-1.
I was going to say, what's your score prediction?
3-1. Yep.
And who will score the goals?
Maeda, Kyogo, and Jota.
And Shane, what's your score prediction and goal scorers?
Yep, we're going to win 2-1. Kyogo and Hatate.
Liam, who's going to be Real Madrid scorer?
Whoever replaces Modric in the midfield.
All right, Johnny, what are your thoughts here?
I personally think that even Madrid's B team are no mugs. I think we should be cautious as fans and not just assume this is going to be a win. I think it's probably going to be a draw. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. So I'm going to go 2-2. And I think our goals might be a little scrappy. So I'm going to go Giacomakis and I'm going to go Carter Vickers with a header. Who knows what theirs? I think theirs is going to be well drilled.
Carter Vickers is out.
All right. Fair. Didn't know that. Let's just go with who do I think? Maybe. Oh well, look, I think it's going to be a header. All right, so maybe O'Reilly or somebody like that. Somebody who's got a bit of height, not bad at heading. Yeah, look, I think it's going to be an entertaining game overall, right? I think it's going to be. I think even when we played Madrid last time at home, there were spades where we controlled the game and we did very well. And I think the score then probably didn't reflect well on us, and actually we did much better than the final score reflected. So I think 2-2 was probably pretty fair for an away. One, it's an away game, and 2, it's the Madrid away. So 2-2 for me, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's going to sound harsh. If it's a draw, I'll be happy with that. I was thinking, probably a 1-1 or a 1-1 draw, or we may get done 2-1. I don't see us winning. I think they've got too much depth. The guys they're bringing off the bench are 35, 40 million pound players.
Yeah.
So that's our whole transfer budget for the whole time. Total spend that Ange has had in his whole 18 months or so at the club on one player coming off the bench to replace him. So,
do you remember when we played Valencia? We played Valencia, and it was dead even. I think it was 1-1, and then they brought on, was it Guedes? I can't remember who the player was, and he just got bought that season for 40 million, and that's Valencia.
Yeah, it's the same situation. Like, if they've got no Benzema up front, who's going to be their starting striker? Oh, they're just going to put Vinicius Jr. there.
Yeah,
or was he
exactly.
50, 60, 70 million, something like that? It doesn't get any easier. So, being realistic, just the way they'll adjust and what they'll do, without Carter Vickers in the back and then with the squad depth they've got, for me, 1-1 will be a good result for us. 2-1, I reckon, probably realistically what it will be, because the Green Tin and specs aren't on right now, and our goal scorer will be Kyogo. He'll get one early, and then we'll see what happens. And then on the weekend, we're going to make it nice and quick here, Liam. Dundee United. Are we going to do it 9-0 again?
Are we home or away?
I don't know, mate.
Home this time, surely.
Oh.
We were away
Of
the
course,
third
I
time.
was away last time. Well, we'll go for the 10 then. I'll say 10. Let's do it.
Jane, what do
Going
you
for the
think?
next
of that
game,
game?
No, we won't get to 9, but we'll get to about 6.
I like
You're
that.
so bloody negative.
Johnny, what are you thinking?
All right, I'll bring it back down to earth, right? I reckon it will be a domination again, but I don't think it's going to be the same as last. I think 4-0, and it will just be. I think they'll park the bus entirely for the entire game. They're not getting beaten 9-0 again by anybody, so they'll be dead worried. And 4-0, a complete domination.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to have 500 more passes than them. We're going to have possession stats looking at like 80% above. We're going to have 20-something shots on target, but it's going to be like a game of pinball trying to get through there into the box, but we'll still win 3 or 4-0.
Yeah.
Because, we'll come out of the game tonight. We'll do that. There'll be some squad rotation. We're not going to want to run guys ragged and pick up any more injuries. Yeah, it'll be a good game to see Rudy Vada make a debut as well, even if he's just sitting on the bench, not even necessarily getting on. But Rocco, sorry, not Rudy. I'm an idiot. But you could play Rudy still against him, and see how he goes. I think probably 3 or 4-0 we'll win that one. But anyway, see some of the young guys break into the squad would be good. And now, there's something I wanted to bring up here. Tommy Boy in the comments. Anything planned for Sydney for the Super Cup? So there's some info that was released about 2 hours ago from the Sydney City CSC. So on Thursday the 17th, there's music from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Scruffy Murphy's, the bar, the CSC Supporters Club bar. Then they got Celtic Sydney FC games on at 7:45, and then there's music from 10 through to 1 a.m. Friday the 18th, music from 4 till 7, and then a different band from 7 till 10, and then a DJ comes in from 10 till 3 a.m. Bust the glow sticks out, everyone, for that DJ. And then DJ Daz, what a name. On Saturday, you've got
DJ Daz, he'll clean up.
Pay for this, though.
It's got to be. He's got to be Australian DJ, surely.
Oh yeah. So you've got a band playing from 4 till 7, and you got live music to be confirmed from 7 till 10. DJ Podgy on from 10 till 3. And then on the Sunday, where we were talking about doing a meet-up at the CSC at Scruffy Murphy's around midday, so around lunchtime, get in there, have a bit of a catch-up, have a few beers, whatever. So we'll get in there about midday on the Sunday, and then from 2 till 5, there's a band on again. Celtic Everton game is on from 8 p.m, and then there's music on after that again. Now, in the comments, Andrew Galea, you've asked what's the name of the place again. So it's called Scruffy Murphy's. It's 43 to 49 Goulburn Street in Sydney. I'll share that post in our Facebook group and on our Twitter as well for everyone. So, yeah, get in the Scruffies. That's where we'll be on the Sunday. Meet us up there, and then, yeah, we'll sort all that out then. We'll jump to our final thoughts. So, while we're talking about the Sydney CSC, I'll jump in with mine first up. So, the Sydney CSC had their 40th anniversary celebrations a couple of weeks ago, and all up, they raised a total of $33,000 for various charities. So I want to give a good shout out to the Sydney City CSC, bunch of absolute legends. They donated $20,000 to the Celtic Foundation, $7,000 to the Kano Foundation, $3,000 to the John Hartson Foundation, and $3,000 to the Australian Indigenous Education Foundation. So well done, guys. Great effort, and happy 40th. So we'll go to you, Shane. What's your final thought?
My final thought is I've very recently gotten back into the local basketball scene, and it's the throwdown this weekend between the two Melbourne teams, Melbourne United and Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. So all I'm going to say is up the Phoenix. Let's get that W.
Yes.
Up a Phoenix, you'll get the jail for that. Sorry. John, why don't you go ahead and give us your final thought, mate? I need a minute.
Leave me a second minute.
Yeah.
My final thought, as it always is my music. I wouldn't say suggestion, dear listeners. I wouldn't say suggestion. I'd say here's the band I've been listening to recently. They're called Main Source. Now, I have a feeling that they're far more popular than I realise they are. And they don't have that many monthly listeners, mind you, but they seem to be incredibly significant for the 90s hip-hop scene. Although they don't sound very hip-hop. They're not like super aggro. They're a bit more funk, soul sort of stuff. Yeah, I've been very much enjoying their albums. Breaking Atoms is a very good album if everyone listens to. Snake Eyes is a very good song. Yeah, I've been enjoying them. They're good. They've been nice weather in Brisbane, and that sort of like bouncy walk down the street type of band. Yeah, very good. Main Source. Give them a listen.
And Liam.
My final thought is I would encourage people to try and have a wee look on the internet and watch a wee bit about the Qatar World Cup team. Qatar, the country, is getting a lot of a slagging right now in the media, and quite rightly so for some of the government policies. But those have precisely bugger all to do with the football team. And the people that run football in Qatar have been working for about 20 years to put together a phenomenal effort to try and actually do some damage at this World Cup. So I would encourage you to read into it, read into what the Aspire Academy is doing in Qatar, read into how they welcome immigrants who come to the country and are willing to try and make an impact, not just in sport, but in life in general. Qatar is actually a very good example of how a small country can punch above its weight in football if it has the right support structures in place. So, have a wee look at that online.
Never thought I'd hear that from you, Liam, but anyway, we'll check that out. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Celtic Down Under podcast through your podcast app. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Celtic Down. On Facebook, we've got a page and a group. First called Celtic Down Under. Just give a search. You'll find us. Pretty simple. Look for the boxing kangaroo. Thanks again. Hail, hail. And we'll see you next week.
Hail, hail.
Hell.
Hell.